yeah, it's live. So
Okay, cool. Starting a couple seconds here. Welcome back to the Inward Nine, a Fantasy Golf Metrics production. My name is Jeff Ulrich, and this week we are talking recap of the Canadian Open, won by Dustin Johnson, his third victory of the year. No shock there, really, I don't think, to anyone. And we'll also be talking about the WGC Bridgestone. Last year, this event's going to be at Firestone, the Bridgestone at Firestone. So we'll talk about that. Obviously, Tiger coming back into the field, made the top 50. Lots to talk about. PGA Championship only 1 week away. Joining me, as always, Fantasy Golf Metrics co-founder Stephen Richter. Steve, you catch any a DJ this weekend?
Yeah, I followed her pretty closely. Had a bit more exposure out there. I didn't watch too much, but it was pretty keyed in. I can tell you mostly what happened. I mean, back-to-back weeks we had DJ ranked first overall. Tale of 2 weeks, obviously. He got it done. I don't think anyone was surprised. I think, infinitely less surprising that he won this week than missing the cut last week. So
absolutely, I mean, if you were surprised that DJ won this week, then I mean, like you should follow golf more closely. I mean,
especially when it gets the way it does. Like a lot of times you talk about players that don't do as well on courses where you can go low. That's not the case with DJ. He'll win the U.S. Open, but he'll win. I mean, you think about a guy like Patrick Reed, guys that generally win when it's like single digits, like guys that have a lot more success there. Justin Rose even, but DJ's gone out there and won a handful of events like at 20 plus under par. Like he'll light it up.
Even Patrick Reed, he won the Career Builder like
that's true. That's true.
Or something. That's the thing with these elite golfers. I mean, people say, "Oh, this guy plays good in like tough conditions." The top 20 players in the world, it doesn't matter what the conditions are. Like for the most part, right? Like look at Molinari. He won the Open at like -8, and then like 2 weeks before that, he won the Quicken at like -21. I mean, these guys are the best players for a reason. So yeah, not shocking that he played well. I'll tell you this. I mean, and I went on Twitter. As Sunday was going on, and I already have some exposure to this, but 12-1 for DJ. It's actually gone now. It's actually down. I think it might be down to 9-1 is his best price. But Bellerive, I mean, I think DJ is going to win the PGA, and I might not be like a runaway victory, but
is that Ches Reeve's brother? I think it's Bellerive.
Is it Bellerive?
But I might have to roll with Bellerive.
Whatever. I like the sound of Bellerive.
I do too, actually.
Bellerive is probably correct. I know it's in St. Louis, but I mean, look, it's going to play. I don't think people realize how long this course is going to play. I was doing some research over the weekend, and I mean, I've seen a couple different yardages, but it's definitely going to play as a par 70 and at least 7,400 yards with some par 5s that are like 500 yards. I just don't see how more than like 20 people have a realistic shot to win at this course. So, anyways,
it looks like a classic PGA Championship course. And the setup, it's going to be difficult, not like U.S. Open trick difficult, but it's going to be tough. It's kind of like this course that we're seeing this week.
It is, and the PGA has really traditionally favored guys with length off the tee, and I know that doesn't just include Dustin. There's a lot of guys who hit it big now, but I just figure with the form, he's got one. Like I just don't know how much longer Dustin can only have one major championship. So I love that price. I hit it up. I would still bet him at 9-1. But anyways, that's my Dustin pitch for now. We can talk more about that later. I mean, there's some other good performances at the Canadian Open. I mean, Benny Ann getting in contention again, didn't get it done. No shock there. I mean, playing with Dustin's always tough. Weekend was a bit of a shock. Kevin Tway completely bombed on Sunday. I was not shocked to see that happen. But, he's played well at spurts this year. Any other surprises for you before we just move on?
Nothing too surprising. I was pleasantly surprised. We had Bradley up there somewhat, and he had a strong finish, which is good to see. I mean, people forget when he gets it going, he can be good. There's so much joke on Twitter. You go full Keegan, you see that joke, and it's like, yeah, he has his blows, but like when he's on, he's a phenomenal player. I mean, listen, that's how you win a major championship. I'd be surprised if we don't see a win sooner than later from Keegan.
Yeah, he's. I mean, ball strike. I've said this a couple times too. Like off the tee and some of the ball striking stats. I mean, he's like top 5, and so like especially off the tee. So whenever you're that good in one facet of the game, I mean, you're not that far off from a big week. And I mean, obviously he's had a couple big weeks. He's had a couple bad weeks too because he's Keegan and he sucks around the green sometimes. But you're right. I mean, if he keeps this consistent ball striking up, it's only a matter of time. Although we say that about Luke List too, and
Other
you know he still has
surprise, just because I've happened to see it on this week's guide. Kepka was a little surprising to me.
Yeah, it was a little bit. I mean, I kind of anticipated, you know, both him and DJ took a lot of time off after the U.S. Open. Um, DJ obviously, you know, didn't affect him. I mean, it did for one tournament. He outwardly said his focus wasn't there for the Open, but it's not like his game went away. Kepka's a different story. You know, he's obviously coming off the win. I mean, interesting. We can talk about him for this week even, but I mean, you know, it's a major championship hangover. Basically, is I mean, what it's not shocking to me. I guess is what I'd say that if he doesn't play well for the next month.
Yeah, it's still a little disappointing because we had him. He's finally taken a step back for us this week. His first time he's been out of the first class in a while for him. So we'll see how he responds in the guaranteed four rounds this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this if he doesn't bounce back here, it's definitely going to affect his ownership at the PGA. But I mean, for this week, you know, he might be setting up as a nice GPP play because definitely burned. He's burned. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people had burned at the Open, but it's two not good starts. So yeah, it was kind of interesting to see him suck so much. But let's move on. I mean, let's talk about the Bridgestone. I mean, obviously, and just before we get started, I mean, if you haven't checked out the site, Fantasy Golf Metrics, obviously moving into the tail end of the season, but you know, we got entire month of August. Don't forget after the PGA and this week we got, you know, the Wyndham and then the playoffs. So still lots of golf left, but fantasygolfmetrics.com, weekly, monthly options there. Tons of different golf tools for research, articles, subscriber chat, bunch of other stuff. I'm probably not even mentioning lineup generator, but it's all there. One of the best deals out. So definitely check that out. And as far as this week's go, I mean, we haven't had a WGC event in a while. Is there anything you do differently this week, or do you just approach it with the same kind of mentality just because it's a no-cut event?
It's tough. I mean, the way I look at the WGCs, I mean, I almost a little annoyed. I mean, because the first reaction is, oh, great. There's no cuts, no stress. Like, you just got to get some guys and you don't have to worry about that. But then at the same time, if you feel like you're a confident player for DFS and you feel like you have an advantage, you kind of like the idea because if you get 6 or 6 through, you know you're in great shape every week. So the idea that you might have picked the right guys to play well, get through the cut, and then get burned by a guy that kind of has a hot Sunday, even though he played poorly the first 2 days. Listen, that's golf, and that's part of what it is. It is interesting maybe to look at. I don't think I do anything different, but since you asked the question, are there guys that maybe I'm looking more at birdie or better average because you don't care about if they make more bogeys. I mean, I think it probably depends on a more course by course basis, but it's yeah. I'm looking for the best 6 golfers, and I'm always looking for those guys to finish as high as they can. It's kind of hard to say I would do anything different personally.
Yeah. Yeah, the WGC. I mean, first of all, I've gone on record. I don't like the WGC events just from a pure optics, like just sporting standpoint and the way they fit in with the PGA schedule. I feel like they should be doing more with it. Like they should make them a little bit bigger or have their own WGC series where
I'd agree,
the winner.
Because I like them. I know. Like,
yeah, it's
I
a
like
good
them,
idea.
Or the idea exactly. Yeah. I like the concept. They probably could do more. You're right.
But it comes down to this, like, these guys got into the WGC. Half the field's just happy to be there and cash a check, an automatic check, and then the top guys are either there. Half of them are there to win, but sometimes half of them are there just to cash a check too. So you don't know where everyone's at for some of these events. I feel like this one's a little bit different because it's a week before the major, and generally you see most people show up this week. So of all of them, I feel like this one. You don't have to do the most guessing and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, I just feel like they got to do something a little bit more with this. Like expand the field a little bit, put in some kind of series or I don't know. Anyways, that's my WGC round. I always bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I feel like I have no problem, say, in the Masters, in the U.S. Open, in the four majors. I have no problem with the amateurs getting in, the local qualifiers, the PGA professionals. I get it. Like that's the shtick. The World Golf Championships, the way that some of these guys, and again, I'm not hating on any of them, but you look at some of these guys like
That's true.
Jocko Allairs, Kota
Yeah.
Ichiro. Like these are not players that, if this is supposed to be a premier event, like that's the place for getting these guys in are in those majors or in those specialized events or national events where you have the Canadian guys like last week, things like
Yeah.
that. And I'm not trying to take away any opportunities from these guys, but like you said, they could be doing more with it. And if the point is to get the World Golf Championships, like every player, it should just be like ranked 1 through 75 in the world, and that should be the field, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Wade Ormsby shouldn't be in the field. Like, it's ridiculous. You're right. So, yeah, that's another aspect of it. The whole qualification procedure is kind of screwed up too. So, anyways, it does make for an interesting week DFS wise. I do feel like there's no cut, but at the same time, I mean, like if your player starts off bad, I mean, oftentimes they just, like I said, they take the weekend off and they end up with like a T55 and you're screwed anyways. It's basically just as bad as a miscut. So, it's still a tough week. That being said, it's a week before major. Dustin Johnson coming off a win, 11-7, Rory 11-3, Tiger Woods 10-8, Justin Rose 10-7, Jordan Spieth 10-4, and then Ricky at 10. So we got 6 golfers over 10K, and we were kind of talking about this off the start, but you're gonna have to make some real decisions at the top this week. This isn't major championship pricing. Jason Day's 9,800. I know Justin Thomas is way down there, but who out of these top 6? Again, let's maybe just talk about, like, if you're making one core lineup, what of these top 6 is like the must play for you? Is it Rose, Woods, DJ?
It's really tough right now. I mean, we have Rose ranked number 1 overall, but it's pretty tight with even Molinari and Johnson and DJ. But since we're staying in that $10,000 plus, like you said, I mean, it's 6 guys above 10K, and that's tough. I mean, it's really hard. Like, you got to make a choice. I mean, you probably got to go with Rose, or DJ. But then the thing is, all of a sudden, Tiger's not a number 2 guy. Like, he's been a number 2 guy for lineups for the last month or two. And like, the question is, well, do you fit him in at 9K? Do you fit him in at 8,700? Oh, okay, yeah, I can make it work. But if you're going with Tiger now, like, that's your best player. And it's not saying that's wrong, because listen, he's played well. He didn't get exempt into this. Like, he earned his way into this. Let's talk about that for a second. He earned his way into the WGC. This guy was maybe not playing ever again 6 months ago. I think that all of all the achievements that he's gotten to, like, everything gets handed to him. He can go to the Masters forever. He can go to the Open forever. He can go to the U.S. Open. Actually, not forever, but I'm sure he'll get special exemptions forever. He can go to all these events for as long as he wants. He couldn't go to this. It's one of his best events ever by anyone of all time, and he earned it. Like, so it's not hard to
What
say.
did he start? What did he start the year out as in the?
It was
in the
over.
golf rankings?
It was like over 1,000.
1,000?
Yeah, at Hero. I mean, just playing in the Hero got him to like 700. Right. It was something crazy, but yeah, I mean, like that is an achievement. So it's not like he's not deserving. Obviously, he was in the lead on the back 9 in a major a couple weeks ago. So 10-8 and the best player. Sure, it's just I'm not sure people are ready to kind of go that route. I mean, I think everyone's been comfortable making him the second, or early on in the season, their 3rd best priced guy. But what do you think? What do you think about that? Do you think that people are ready to say, all right, Tiger's my anchor, and then go from there?
I think DraftKings priced him perfectly this week, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I don't honestly, usually I don't say that about the pricing, but I think he's perfect. I mean, Rory still looks overpriced, but other than that, I mean, Tiger just ahead of Rose. You're gonna have to make a real decision. If you go with Tiger and Rose, you have an average salary left of 7,100. In a normal week where there's lots of value and it's a weaker field, it maybe isn't the worst. But if you do that this week, I mean, you're relying on guys like Grillo, Woodland, Berger. And those are good players, but in an elite field like this, like, you're skipping out on all of the, so to speak, really good value plays in the 8K range. And I'm talking about guys like Justin Thomas, Alex Noren, Paul Casey, Bubba Watson. You're bypassing all those guys to get Woods and Rose in. I think I just don't know if I just can't see that working out, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. You basically have to make a decision, Woods, Rose, or Woods, Dustin, whatever. yeah, it's an interesting week. Like from that, I mean, even, like you start off with Dustin, you only have 7,600 left. You're still gonna have to bypass a lot of those names. You can probably fit maybe one or two, but it's tough. It's an interesting week from that perspective, anyways. So
I
coming back to the Tiger Rose question, I would probably take Rose. I hate to say it, like I really hate to side against Woods, but I'd probably take Rose.
it's interesting because I would say that this is the hardest pricing I've seen all year.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'll say about the WGC events. They often are. It's like the opposite of majors, because
Yeah.
the condensed field and then the bottom of the bottom of the field goes up instead of down. So I don't know how it works, but I agree. It's a tough week.
I mean, yeah, Rose is, like I said, number one for us. I mean, mostly on the heel of form and secret stat, and
Hmm.
listen, he's second in the world. I mean, if
And he's got
Rose,
good course history too here
he's
too. Like
14th in the field in course history. I mean,
yeah,
listen, it's not better than Tigers, but
no,
I'm guessing with DJ's win, Rose can't become number one with a win this week.
no, he can,
He
but
can.
Dustin I think needs to finish outside of the top 20 or something like that.
Gotcha. So I mean that's something to me. I mean, listen, there's a lot of different angles if you want to play narratives. DJ, there's no narrative because you never he's just chill. But
Yeah.
Rose, like I think it'd be a big deal for Rose to become number one player in the world. So you got to figure there's motivation there. Tiger is playing the best he's played in half a decade, and he's at this course, so you got to figure the motivations there. I look at Spieth and Fowler. Listen, I'm still not there on Spieth. I mean, obviously he played well, looked like he was going to have a chance to win the Open again, but we still have him ranked down a bit for the overall form, not a recency bias. And then you got Fowler at 10K. The overall form's there, but I feel like of all the guys, I think he could be one of the lesser owned ones of the 5 digit class because he kind of disappointed, heading into the weekend on at the British. So what do you think about ownership of these guys?
Ownership, yeah. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to agree with you there. And some people might start siding with Spieth over Fowler again too, which I'm not necessarily saying is a mistake. I mean, Spieth obviously found something in his game and his course history here.
It's really good. He won
That
2 years
bad.
ago too.
It's not that bad. So I know he's never won this event.
No, what do I have?
He lost to
I'm
Lowry
sorry. You're right. You're right. He's
in
third,
2000. He was third though.
third 2 years ago.
So he's gone 13th, third, 10th. But
Oh,
again, yeah,
DJ
like
DJ won 2 years ago. My bad.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. But again, like to roster these guys, if you take Rose and Fowler, you still only have 7,300 left.
And that's like I just
So
I know
it's really hard to swallow. Like I mean, you really have to. You're gonna have to choose right with these guys because I mean, you go Rose Fowler. You can fit in someone like Reed or Bubba, but then you got to start bottom fishing because you only had 7 grand left. So yep, it's an interesting week. I can't see any of these guys at the top. Maybe Tiger gets really popular and people just say screw it. But
and like you said, like off the top when we were talking about, how the pricing was, a lot of my favorable lineups, they have, Molinari, Fleetwood,
mhm.
Reed in there, even DeChambeau, like guys like that, because these are guys that are proven to play at a high level in these types of events, but you get 3 or 4 of them instead of just the two,
Yeah, because
and
they're just so much cheaper.
you don't have
Yeah.
to go down to some of these guys that I mean, because you get into the sevens here, and it's not terrible. I mean, listen, Webb Simpson obviously having a great year. Grace disappointing. Ustays, and we always talk about Hoffman kind of playing better. So it's like that's the thing. It's like after that,
Well,
drops off.
and having one or two of those players and then expecting them to get in the top 20 is fine, but having 4 of them and then needing one of them to like top 5 or something or top 10 to have like
Yeah,
that a real upside week, that's tough. That's almost fairy taleville, right? So I mean, that being said, like Zach Johnson and Charlie Hoffman like were both top 5 last year, so it's not like it can't happen. But yeah, it's it's a tough week strategically. I mean, you just got to go with who you like at the top basically, and then go from there. That's
yep.
that's about it. You got to make your decision at the top before anything. I think. Going down. Obviously, you already brought up Fleetwood. Is he by default? You think going to be the highest owned player this week?
I would think he has to be. I think that he's still going to be sexier than Molinari. I mean, you still
Yeah,
can't listen.
he's a little cheaper too, right?
$200, yes. So
Yeah.
you know,
So okay.
if you're in that range, I mean, if you're just looking at data, how can you not consider Molinari? I mean, he's finished
Yeah.
first or second in 5 of his last 6 events. So yeah, but at the same time, it's like there's going to be that bias of, well, he just won the major, so he can't possibly win the next time out. And
Right. Yeah.
Fleetwood played well in the last two, and he hasn't won yet. There's going to be that vibe of, well, Fleetwood's the next guy to like get that win. I mean, we do have him ranked number one in form, because we're not taking into account the Euro Tour for the form number. I mean, Molinari's fourth. History is kind of average for Fleetwood. I think what he's played here, just the
Just
one time,
once.
yeah, the
Just
one
once.
time.
T28.
So kind of like nothing really to talk about there. I think I like Fleetwood's betting odds as well. Obviously,
Right.
that correlates so strongly. I mean, at 28 to 1 is what I'm seeing. I'm sure there's probably some places that maybe have him in like 30, but it's upper 20s. He's probably one of the better values. It's just tough when you look at these upper guys. I mean, you don't want to bet DJ at 7, um, Rose at 14. I don't know. I mean, it's like these are the best
I
guys. I
don't
mean,
I don't hate that number on Rose. I don't hate it, but
well,
I'm
it's
probably not
fair.
gonna
That's
bet
the
it.
thing. It's
It's
fair.
fair,
That's
yeah.
the. I feel like I'm always looking for like a little better. I feel like Fleetwood. I wouldn't have been surprised if he was in the low 20s.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
but yeah, I think he would probably have to be the highest owned. And listen, we have him ranked fourth overall, so we're there on him.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Molinari, I mean, actually doesn't have like the greatest course history here either. Like he's never top 10. His best finish is actually T15 from 2011, so that's kind of working against him too. This isn't an argument for
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
me not taking him. I'm just throwing it out there from an ownership. It might drive it down a little bit. So Fleetwood, I would agree. I feel like he'll probably garner the most ownership. Could make a guy like Stenson interesting. Obviously he had a little bit of an injury concern going into the Open, but if we get any other news on that, that'll be interesting. Then it gets really interesting because you have Koepka and Thomas under 9K this week. Justin Thomas at 8,800, man, and 30 to 1 in the betting odds he opened up. By the way, I took some of that this morning. Full disclosure, not a huge bet. It might actually be my only bet for this event, but yeah, that was kind of surprising. I don't know. You on Justin Thomas?
I mean, I'm trying on the guy. We have him 25, but I updated it in the afternoon, so maybe it's down a little bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's still ranked 14th in form. I mean, third overall in the world. It's kind of the same conversation we had heading into the Open Championship. I mean, he's playing well. He's just not, in contention. So, compacted field. I mean, why not? I mean, he almost won. Did he almost win in Mexico? Yeah, he was.
yeah,
Yeah, it was that
yep.
when Phil won. So I
Yeah,
mean,
he ran hot. I mean, that was right after his Honda win.
yeah.
Since then, I mean, he hasn't, like you said, hasn't been playing bad. I mean, obviously missed the cut at the Open, but he's had his problems at that event. He did open with a 69 there. It was T8 the week before that in France. Actually played really well. After that, it's just a bunch of like top 20s basically. He seems semi close. So
Which that's the thing.
again,
At 8,800, a top 20
yeah,
is pretty decent.
absolutely right. So, I mean, taking him over Koepka.
I mean, we technically have him ranked higher. Kepka, I don't want to. I mean, I do love him. I'm a little confused by the last two starts. That's the thing. It's like,
He's had a weird season. I mean, he missed a huge portion.
yeah,
Then he came back and it was like got right back into form. Like he didn't miss any time, and then he won a major. And then he's only played twice, or he's played 3 times since then, and I mean, it's not been good. So I don't know. It's a strange situation. I mean, we talked about a little bit about this before today, and I call it major championship hangover. It is sort of a thing, right? I mean, mentally, I mean, he's done what he needs to do. I personally, I just take Thomas. I might even go down and just take Casey or Noren over Koepka
well,
this
yeah.
week.
I mean, if you look at
He's probably going to be a nice GPP play ownership wise, but
if you follow the trend rank, I mean, he's ranked 70th in trend. Like, I mean, we don't even have a number really for a couple of the guys because, but yeah, I mean, how do you go from where he was to the last couple of events? That's about as downward as a trend as you can have.
yeah,
It's a little skewed. It's not perfect science because you look at Dustin Johnson. We have him ranked at 57th. Full disclosure, but it doesn't count like a one win spike at the end as a trend. It's an overall trend over the last 12 weeks. So technically, DJ's trend is still down, but in the short term, obviously, you're not thinking about that with him. But yeah, I mean, if you do take that into an account, like it doesn't get any worse than the Kepka's current trend, technically.
Yeah.
Even though the
17th withdraw, 6th is Kepka's. So I mean, he has actually had a top finish here. But
no, well yeah, here I mean I'm just talking about in
oh yeah, just in
over the
general.
last few like the last his last times
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But yeah, Noren, a guy. I mean, Noren we have up in the first class. He rounds it out.
Hmm.
We have him ranked eighth in form. I mean, he played well. He finished strong at the British. Um, he's a guy that I like a lot of. I mean, he's one of the cheapest guys that we have in the first class. In fact, is he the cheapest? Let me see, 8,700. It was tough. I mean, no,
Casey's $100
Casey
cheaper.
86. Yeah, so him, Casey and Norton are the two cheapest guys. We don't have any guys in the 7,000s this week. I mean, every week we generally have a couple, if not one guy maybe peaking in like 68, 6,900. But like last week we had Kirk, Sink, those guys were up in the first class, but you're not seeing that
Hmm.
this week.
No, and again, I mean, just come back to the pricing and the elite field and everything this week. I could get there on Noren. I know this is a bit longer course, but and he's handled Torrey Pines fine. It's not the biggest deal. I mean, you still need to be accurate. I feel like it's more of a little bit more of an approach court, a shot deal, anyways. So I like that. I mean, I think Noren and Casey probably both looking like great cash game plays at those prices, along with Thomas. I mean, if you do start again, and we come back to this pricing thing though, if you did start with those three, you're basically locked into not taking Tiger Rose. I mean, you could actually take them, but then you're left with like Sharma or Brandon Stone or Wade Ormsby or Ted Potter Jr. So it's interesting. I do like those three players. I mean, I feel like they're all a little bit underowned. We obviously have them all ranked pretty highly. Noren and Casey first class. And then under it, you go down to Bubba, Hideki, and Patrick Reed. I don't think any of those players in the first class. I feel like Reed's just outside of it, but I feel like all three of those probably going to be a little bit, probably just good GPP plays
Yeah, I mean, what else is new
or
for Patrick
interesting
Reed?
GPP play. Yeah, I mean
Uh,
Reed could be like on a Molinari run, he'd still be like 10% owned, right?
exactly. I mean, looking at that in that range, that's still a 7,000 guy. I mean, really, there you got Zach Johnson. He's played well here before, which I think is kind of surprising to many. I mean, we have him ranked seventh in history. At a course that generally plays longer. He's a guy that's finished second last year, 10th the year before. He's got a couple other. He's got a fourth, a sixth. A lot of really strong finishes for him. I mean, average
Mm-hmm.
finish. He's played 14 in the last 14 years. Average finish of 18.5, which is really strong for a guy not known for being able to get it out there.
Yeah, it is kind of strange that he's got a good record at this event. I was talking about this earlier today, but I mean, again, this course isn't necessarily you don't have to be a big hitter. I mean, Jim Furyk has done really well here over his career too, so it is kind of a second shot venue, even though it's got a lot of longer holes because you have to find fairways too, because the rough here is kind of like one of the defenses of the course. So shocked but not shocked to see Zach has a good record. Would you take Reed over Zach? Like again, or would you go ZJ? Or would you just take Cantley? Might be the easier, might be the best decision.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, GPP, you got to figure Cantley is going to give you the biggest edge if he does play well. I listen. From a course history perspective, I like Zach Johnson at places where he has a strong course history. But I mean, I generally do like Reed, but I think ZJ might even be less owned than Reed,
Mm-hmm.
and
Really,
maybe not. They're probably going to be around the same.
it is tough to say. This is kind of a big price for Zach Johnson, like in this field.
Yeah,
So you know what? I mean, all three of these guys, all three of them might not be heavily owned because, again, we can just keep going down here. But Schauffele's at 7,900, Bryson's at 78, even Kuchar. People might just say, "I'm not taking Zach. I'm going to take Kuchar or Webb Simpson or Brandon Grace, all cheaper, right?" So I can see,
I mean,
I could see Zach Johnson not being chalk, even though I thought he might be.
that being said, um, I'm there on Xander. He's a guy that
Yeah.
it's a form play. He wasn't in form. You know, he had a couple okay starts, but for him to be able to go out and play like he did at the Open, like that's enough for me. He's one of the guys that I'm comfortable maybe jumping ahead of the curve if you feel like he's about to be there because that's what we've seen from him. Even again, it's a short sample size, only about a year and a half, but you know he's gone on some runs and if you know, listen, he was also in the mix at the WGC, correct?
But oh,
In
the what
Mexico.
last? Oh, Mexico.
I think he. I think we had him. I think we had him, and then we bet him and Rafa both like top 10 or top five, and they
Yeah, he might have been.
and they hit it. So
He's been a little all over the place, but I mean, this is all you really need to know. He's gone T21, T2 over his last two starts, but players T2, US Open T6, Open T2. I mean, I think he's showing up for the big events.
premier ball striker. That's always shows up in those
And
type of
really, off
events.
the tee, you can't ask for anything better than him. I mean, he's longer, and he's actually one of the more straighter hitters for the longer hitters. Good bent grass putter. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I wouldn't. I won't. I will say this. Like him next week too at the PGA. I mean, we've seen
Yep.
young guys break through there. But we talked about this in the preview show too. One of the players who we wouldn't be shocked to take a really big jump this year is Xander. He hasn't really proven us wrong. I know he hasn't won, but I mean his performance in the majors has been pretty insane, quite frankly. So yeah, no, I'm there with you, and that's kind of why I feel like those guys in the low 8K range might actually be pretty low owned because I feel like Xander will get some love, maybe not like a ton, but I do like him this week. I agree. I mean, of this whole entire sort of broader range we're talking about, he'd be my play, and I'd play him over Finau this week.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I do think I don't know. Maybe it's just me trying to make a numbers game out of it, but I feel like if for some reason if there's a week where Finau is going to fall off, it's kind of like maybe trending that way this week.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he plays well again next week. But yeah, I would agree, and even if it's just for hunch reasons only. I mean, we have them ranked basically right next to each other. But I think I agree. I think I'm there with Xander. I mean, Tony hasn't played here before, so that's another thing. I mean, Xander finished 13th last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then look, it's nothing against Finau. I mean, obviously, you know, you're talking off the top. If you're looking for a birdie or better or stuff like that, I mean, AK Tony Finau is actually looks like a pretty good price. But you know, who's in better recent form, trending better? It's probably Xander. I also still worry about, you know, he mentioned a few back issues at the Open. I always worry when players just mention little things like that because sometimes they're worse than they are. That's complete speculation and narrative for me, by the way, but
Yep.
I still take that into account. I mean, you just don't know if it's getting worse or better, right? And if it gets worse at the start of the week, does he just like play one round and withdraw? I don't know. That I don't want to like put thoughts into people's minds that shouldn't be there, but it's still something to consider. I always keep track of these little injury notes, so he's got one next to his name right now for me. Anyways,
You got
did you see Bryson last week? By the way, in Europe, did you see what he did after he lost?
I didn't see. I read that he apologized.
First of all, he completely blew up. I mean, he probably should have won the event.
I saw
I
that.
think he was tied or in the lead, and then there was like because it was a weird course last week, and there's three par fives down the stretch. Like literally three of the last four holes were par fives, and I think he played them in like three over par, including like a triple on the last. So, but then I mean, after the guy won, and the guy won, I can't even. It's like Richard McAvoy. But I mean, after he won, like because Bryson was paired with him, he just, you know, the guy was celebrating. You go over to do the traditional handshake. Bryson basically just puts out his hand and like shakes his hand as he's walking away. Doesn't look him in the eye. And I know he's a young guy, and he's like obviously he's got like he gets pretty emotional, but like holy cow, man! I mean, just take a chill pill. Like the tournament's over. Just congratulate the guy who's basically winning his like first event ever. I mean, it was a little interesting to watch.
Listen, the bottom line, and he's just weird, you know, like, and I mean that not in like a mean way. Like, I mean, he's just, sorry, I shouldn't say weird. He's different. He doesn't make it okay. There's a certain level of etiquette that you need to, you know,
Yeah.
make sure that you adhere to when it comes to golf. But like, it doesn't surprise me, and it when I say that, like, there are probably players out there that I would say it doesn't surprise me because they're bad guys or they have bad attitudes. And then again, like I said, it doesn't make it okay, but like it doesn't surprise me just because it's him. Like it doesn't surprise me the same way it wouldn't surprise me if like Patrick Reed kind of did it. Like it's
Yeah,
just it's that kind of like
little eccentric, and
yeah.
I don't even. You know what? It's funny you bring up. I don't think Reed would actually react like that. I really don't, unless it was like someone he truly hated.
Yeah.
Because Reed is more of a grudge guy.
Well, you know what I
Bryson
mean.
is just yeah. I absolutely know what you mean. I mean, Bryson is more of like a. He's just eccentric. He's he obviously has a very high opinion of himself, and he should. I mean, he's really good. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes it spills over, and he acts in ways he shouldn't. And he's still really young too. I mean, he'll probably learn from it. I mean, I'm sure he knows that he came off looking like a complete a-hole. So, we'll see. We'll see if that changes anything. It's been an interesting couple weeks for him, because I don't know if you saw that range meltdown he had at the Open Championship too, but you should definitely check that out because that was pretty insane.
Yeah, he's all over the place, and I mean,
that being said, I mean he's 7,800. I'll play him this week. I don't care.
well, just below that is a guy I know we've spoken about a lot, and he's crept up. I think he was kind of out of nowhere for me, at least in my mind. But Louis Oosthuizen, if you're just looking at the PGA Tour results, he hadn't played in a while on tour since the U.S. Open. He only played in the U.S. Open and the Open Championship on tour. But all those events, and if you just look at that, they look really good. Um, at 7,500, he's a guy that I might have to sneak in a little here and there. He hasn't really played much. I guess I don't really see anything in the last like 4 weeks or so on the European tour as well. And what are your thoughts on Louis overall?
I think he's a good price this week.
Yeah,
I mean, again, it kind of comes down to Cantlay, Zach Johnson. We like Schauffele, but then even in front of Louis, I mean, like out of form Matt Kuchar, Webb Simpson hasn't really been that good, to be honest. Neither has been Brandon Grace. Louis obviously he had a little bit of a prep issue with going into the Open because he had to take the week off in the
yeah,
Scottish, but he didn't play that bad at the Open, and I feel like maybe we were just maybe people were like missed out just because we were week early, I guess, and this might be the event to catch him. I definitely like the price. He's played okay here a couple times too, so he's got a lot of course experience. No, I'm definitely in it. I thought about betting him this morning. I didn't do it. I might pull the trigger. I'm not going to bet a lot of guys at this event either because I do not like the WGC events, and we got the other event going on, which we can talk about at the end. But at this price, I mean, him and Hoffman and even Adam Scott is kind of interesting.
Just going to say Adam Scott's creeping up a little bit.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was happy to see him finish 17th at the Open. This is an event. This course, Ball Striker course. I mean, he's finished 13th, 10th last 2 years, 8th 2 years before that. He's won here. This is an Adam Scott type of course, type of event. To see him coming off a 17th at the last major, definitely interested.
Yeah, you have to be. I mean, again, you have to save some salary this week if you want to fit in, multiple players of that juicy range, and maybe one of the top guys. So, going down, you might even have to sacrifice a guy like Xander and go with Adam Scott or something like that, because Louis and Scott and even Hoffman, I mean, they're so much cheaper. So, and really under them, the problem is too, under them, the class falls off. Either you have a complete out of form guy like Sergio, or you got to go down and trust Chappell or Ben-An. And I know both those guys are in good form, and I kind of like them. But you can't tell me they're better players than Adam Scott or Louis. So
yeah,
at least not right now.
You danced around a couple guys there. You didn't mention the name. The form obviously not there. Anything for Phil?
I'd say no. Do you have a different take?
No. Yeah. I'm there. I mean, we've been on Phil a lot, especially early in the year, and I think he's just kind of like.
Yeah,
maybe he's just tiring out, I mean,
he won his event. He's basically on the Ryder Cup team. He's got the major next week. I mean, this is kind of like maybe he gets it going here, and then we're interested next week. But I guess as like a GP, I might even say I take Sergio over him, even though Sergio has made me look like a complete moron the last 2 weeks. I might even just say take Sergio over him. So yeah. Next week we'll see. Again, it pops up here a little bit. The data looks a bit better, but no, I'm okay fading Phil.
Let's see, anyone else in here? I'm kind of surprised he didn't pop up more because he played well last week. But yeah, Ian Poulter 7,300.
Yep.
I guess it's just like quality of field. I mean, last week the field was pretty below average, you want to call it, but he's at like towards the top of our third class. Finished really strong when he finished 8th or 12th last week.
Yeah, he finished pretty strong.
Yeah.
12th, yeah.
But yeah, like you said, in the 7,000 range, it's kind of like it's like landmines. Like they're all good enough to kind of have a hot week, but it's all about a level of confidence,
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. That's why I said off the top, like, if you are going to go heavy in this range, like take 4 golfers from this range or something, you either have to have real confidence in a couple guys or just get lucky. Because I mean, I could see any one of these players finishing T50 or like T9, and it wouldn't shock me. But I like Chappell. I mean, I like the course history, but he's still Kevin Chappell. He's played inconsistent most of the year. Nobody saw the T6 from the Open coming. So is that his new baseline, as you like to say, or is that just 1 week? Ben An. I mean, I like Ben An too. He's great off the tee. He was crap before the RBC Canadian Open, quite frankly, and he didn't play well here last year. So I will say this about this course: experience has kind of mattered. Most people's results are kind of all over the place, but the guys who've played here more than 4 or 5 years usually have one good result if they're an elite player. So, I guess out of all these people, I might side with Chappell.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, he's got a 13th and a 3rd, so
yeah,
average of 8th. I mean, that's the one angle if you're going to go into that range. Because once you get into you can make some arguments that are solid for like the mid upper 7s, but once you get into those low 7s, it's really tough. I mean, even like Kisner, Stanley, like these Berger, Grillo we liked a lot headed into the Open and then disappointed. Woodland kind of the same. You get in there because then after that it's really nothing. So usually I feel like you'll have 1 or 2 guys you can, if you needed to go to 68, 69, you can feel decent about, but there's no one under 7 here that I'm confident in.
Yeah, under 7 is, I mean, let's get to that in a sec. Who out of that 72, like say under Chappell range, do you have a favorite? Like, are you getting back on Grillo or anyone?
No,
or just haven't decided yet, or
I mean, I haven't again. No, if I just rank, I got the guide in front of me. If I just look at that, I mean, there's no one even close. Yeah. I mean, is Grillo the first guy technically? I mean, he's down in the.
Actually, I think it's Luke List.
It would be Ross Fisher. Is well, we're saying under 7. Sorry, so that's so. Ross Fisher,
I was saying under 73.
So 73. Yeah, Luke List is 72. And
that'd be the highest ranked from the pure data standpoint, right? So, and I could get behind List here, but again, I guess I could get behind all these guys. I mean, I think Woodland's interesting. He completely bombed here last year. Yeah, man, it's tough choosing between these 3. Again, none of them stand out really from a pure data standpoint. So, I kind of like Woodland. I feel like he's got his game back a little bit, but he is hit or miss with his results.
I mean, technically, Rafa has the best form out of anyone at this price, but, the history is holding them back a little bit. I mean, how many times has he played here, though? Just twice. He's with an average of finish of 50.5. So that's hard for me to get around. I mean, we have him in the 4th class. I was just looking at who are some lower price guys that we have ranked higher in form, and he's one of them. But it's hard with that history to kind of. It obviously hasn't worked for him the last 2 times out here.
I will say this. I think this is a good venue for Kyle Stanley. Played well in Ohio earlier in the year, the Memorial. That's a little bit of a correlated venue. Bentgrass Green, same state, actually really close, the courses. So I kind of like Kyle Stanley just from that perspective. Like I said, I kind of like the way Woodland's trending. And Grillo, I feel like this is probably a good bounce back spot. But if you forced me, if I was taking one with the most upside, I'd probably say Stanley. But man, like it's tough choosing. Maybe just take Fitzpatrick. He's probably the highest ranked in the world out of all those guys. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough down here. I want to have some conviction, but
I do too, and
it's
I
not
hate
there.
I hate it when we do this, but the pricing is tough because they're all grouped, and they're all kind of in similar spots. So yeah,
I mean, like I said,
what do you do?
Fisher is the Fisher, Fitzpatrick. I'm just sorting by secret stat to see if there's anything popping there. And that's the thing. It's interesting. A couple of these guys, if you're ranked by secret stat, a lot of the guys in the sevens are actually up there, but it's because they're kind of like one trick ponies. Like
Yeah,
it's I mean, Woodland has always been like a secret stat guy because some kind of a ball striking type stat, which um, combined with like potential. So it's hard. I mean, any of these guys, you feel like they can pop, and they do, and that's what happens. Like they have a hot week, and you don't see it coming, but it's because the ability is there, and it's just is it this week? I don't know.
yeah, it's gonna be tough to choose in that range. Anyways, like I said, my feeling is don't try and go overboard in that range because you might hit the one guy, but you might hit two landmines too. So under 7K. I don't think we need to go through all these players, obviously, but anyone stick out for you? Couple guys you'd feel at least semi-confident in?
No. I mean, if we want, we can look at. I figured I might defer to you because maybe you know a couple of these guys in the Euro Tour. I'm looking over on the Euro results sheet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Alex Bjork's played well this
yeah,
year,
Bjork.
but again, this is a different style venue. It's not lengthy, it's longer. He's not a long hitter off the tee. It's good approach, good short game, but I don't know if I trust him. I actually Paul Dunn is semi-interesting because he can get it out there a little bit, and if he has a good week with the driver, he's played well in the States. I think if I was going to go down here, I think I'd probably go Siwoo, to be honest. Coming off a pretty good week last week, and just we know the talent is there to have a big week in a field like this. He played here last year too, which I kind of like. So,
I mean,
I'd probably say Siwoo.
I'd want to say Stone because he had the win at the Scottish, but
Right.
he didn't
That came out of nowhere.
he didn't play well at the Open. So
Yeah.
well, yeah, he started strong. Did he have he was
He did.
Yeah,
He did start strong.
but
Then he just I don't know. I don't think I could go. He's obviously a talented player. He's won a couple times already for a young guy, but consistent wise, I would trust Siwoo, who plays again. He plays these PGA Tour setups. He's played in Ohio bentgrass greens before. Happy Barn Rat's kind of interesting. His form has really fallen off though, hasn't it?
yeah, it's hard to get excited about anyone down here.
So hard to get excited about him. Lahiri, he's played well in Ohio again too. I keep coming back to Siwoo. I think he's got the best upside down here. I don't know how far you want to trust him because he's Siwoo, obviously. And but no cut event, I guess. I really don't have anything else for these guys. I mean, you're kind of hoping against hope if you roster some of them. Like I said, Dunn, I feel like does have the potential to pop up maybe with a top 20, but that's just more on the type of player I think he is. I think he is like a solid enough player, but
I mean, the average finish of all the players that have course history here under 7,000 is 44. So, or 44.8. I mean, Hadwin finished 5th last year. Vegas finished 17th last year. But outside of those two finishes, I mean, the guys down here that have played here before, even multiple times, there's nothing there.
Actually, what about Cam Smith?
Yeah,
didn't he make the cut at the Open?
He's one of the highest ranked. I mean, I was surprised. I think he's ranked like 37th. He's one of the highest ranked in the world down there, I believe.
Yeah.
No, that was Cadera. Cameron Smith 47th. I mean, we have him ranked. He's in the 5th class for us, so I can't generally endorse.
Yeah, he's really hit the toilet.
Well, he's one of 5 cuts after.
Yeah. God, Hadwin was 5th here last year, right?
Yeah.
I guess maybe Hadwin then over Smith. Either way, don't go crazy. Like I said, I feel like Siwoo is a play, but that's about it. I don't have a ton of confidence in it.
I think it's just it kind of resonates around the theme that you said that you noticed earlier in the year. It's not it's a balanced lineup type of week because you have
Yeah,
to. You're kind of forced into it.
you're forced into it, or you're throwing darts down here, and I obviously we're in the predicting business and data and stuff like that. But at the same time, when it gets like this, it forces everyone into the same mode. So yeah.
Yeah.
Want to talk about the Barracuda for a bit?
Yeah, like what do you got there? I mean, listen, there's a lot of guys I feel, um, we've
It's going to
liked.
be wide open. It looks like it's shaping up with a bunch of players who are actually in pretty good form. Like you said, guys we've liked, and I think it's going to be an interesting event. I'm going to be betting it more than the other event. I'll tell you that much. Obviously, you can't play DFS on it because it's Stableford scoring. In case you've never seen it, it's like it's like +5 for an eagle. It's like +3
Well, it
for a
rewards
birdie
it
or something like
rewards
that.
taking the risk. You get more points for
Exactly,
scoring than you do
exactly.
for messing up.
So, here's my Barracuda story from this morning. And if you follow me on Twitter, you probably already know. But so I was doing some research last night, and it pops up on my timeline that Drew Love won this event in Colorado. And this is Davis Love, the third son. So I go and check out the results, and I see in second place Sam Saunders, and I see he shot 60 in round 3 to get into second. I'm like, holy crap, Sam Saunders! I know Sam Saunders has finished top 10 in the Barracuda 2 years in a row. And I mean, I already had him in my mind for this event. I was going to bet it, but then I saw this and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this out there. People know he's 60-1. So I get it out there. And then a couple people tweet back at me like, are you sure that's the same Sam Saunders? I think there's another Sam Saunders. I'm like, what? There's not two Sam Saunders. There is two Sam Saunders. What the
Yeah.
hell? Like there's some guy from Mississippi or Missouri or something, and he plays like the mini tours. I don't know, but this guy shot 60 and he's got the same name as Arnie's grandson. So, anyways, I tweeted it out. I tweeted out the mistake and what happened, but I'm still on Sam Saunders because, like I said, I do like him for this event. He's a type of player who will take risks. He'll make a couple bogeys, but I do like him for this format. It's been good for him. I got him on him at 60-1 this morning. He's already down to like 45-1 because there were some withdrawals. Like Bo Hosler withdrew, a couple other guys withdrew, but I do like that. I like that number on him. I like the fact he's played this event a couple times, and I've talked about him at the start of the year. I feel like he's a guy who could get a win soon. So that's the only big bet I've made. I did bet Steven Yeager like 140-1, just because I know he can go nuts in a format like this too. But that's about it. And is there anyone that I mean, just from knowing the results from last week or anything that would interest you?
I mean, obviously Dom and a guy that I mean, listen, we're gonna put a guide out. We don't have it out right now. Usually in the alternate field.
Damon's actually the favorite right now, too.
Yeah.
Like,
So we'll probably put the guide out tomorrow for it's a little more limited, but we'll have it out for these guys. But yeah, these are all guys that you see in regular events. It's not like such a crappy event where it's filled with web.com, although there is a handful of those guys. It's a little more of a veteran.
It's like the Masters of the second tier events.
Exactly. It's one of the more quality ones, and it's a fun event. I mean, it's fun to see the new scoring. I like anytime they do something a little different. But I mean, even guys like Bill Haas are in this field. I mean, these are guys that you don't necessarily expect to see. Usually they'll just take a week off. Listen, Lanto Griffin, the guy that we've talked about for a couple of weeks. I mean, he finished well. He played decent last week. Again, until I put the guide out, I don't have anything in front of me to kind of say one way or the other. But any of the guys that we've liked over the last few weeks, a lot of them are playing here, and they've kind of been playing well overall. I mean, is Poston playing this week? Because he disappointed me last week.
I think he actually took.
Yeah, he's not in. No, he's not in. But yeah, I mean, tomorrow we'll get the guide out, and we'll see what the numbers say.
Anyways, I might tweet out a couple more bets too if I even make any. I will say this: I do like Sam Saunders, so that's about it. We'll see. He's down to like 40, or he's still 50-1 in a couple of slots, but with the top couple guys going out, obviously the odds dropped on some people. Mm-hmm. But it's an interesting event. It's actually a good event. I kind of wish they'd use Stableford scoring maybe in something else, but this is a good event. Good second tier event for me, anyways. But that's pretty much it. We've probably been talking long enough. Obviously got the PGA coming up. I mean, I obviously gone in on DJ last week, so I mean, I'll have that action. Anyone you looking at early, or are you just gonna wait till next week?
Yeah, I'm not there yet. I got to see. I mean, this is the one major where I don't feel like I need to get ahead of it. I mean,
Yeah,
I think you getting ahead on DJs was smart. Get a little better value. But it's like there's so many quality events in the run up that like you actually get to see the players a little more than you normally
absolutely.
would.
Yeah.
So I'll probably just wait and see what value I find as we head into the weekend.
Cool. Well, give me a winner for the WGC, anyways, and then we'll get out of here.
I mean, I always. I mean, I want. Listen. I'm rooting for Tiger. I'm always rooting for Tiger. I'm not sure how much I'm going to have of him because of the price, but I want to see it, and I think a lot of people do. Um, but does he get it done? You know what? Just to go a little different, I'm gonna go with Xander.
Okay, I like that. No, this is good because like I got a chalk pick, and now you're taking the guy who's not chalky. This is great. This because I always end up taking the guy like Xander, and then they finish like 50th. But I'm gonna go with Justin Rose. And
Yeah.
I got this is all part of the plan. Justin Rose is gonna win this week. He's gonna steal the number one from DJ because DJ is gonna be like T24, and then the week after, Dustin's gonna win the PGA. So that's my hot take. That's my hope, anyways.
Makes sense.
It would be interesting if Rose stole the number one away this week. That really set it up for a good PGA showdown. But yeah, I'm looking ahead a little bit to the PGA. I really like Dustin there, obviously, but I do think like I said, God, I love Tiger. I will not be disappointed at all if he wins. But if you ask me, take him or Rose, I'm probably taking Rose. So, anyways, that's it. You can hit me up on Twitter at the Fantasy Grind if you want to tell me how stupid I am. Steven Richter at FG Metrics. He's not stupid. Definitely check out the site, fantasygolfmetrics.com too. And have a good WGC Bridgestone. We'll see you next week.
Take it easy.